What happens when an undefeated rising star meets a seasoned warrior with everything to lose? When Michael Morales faced Gilbert Burns at UFC Vegas 106, fans expected a war, but no one saw this coming. Was it a passing of the torch or the start of something far bigger? Let's dive in. Chapter 1, Gilbert v. Durinho Burns. When the UFC announced that Gilbert Burns would headline against Michael Morales, it turned heads instantly, not just because of the names involved, but because of what it represents in the ever-competitive world of mixed martial arts. A seasoned veteran facing a young, undefeated lion. Gilbert Durinho Burns is not your average MMA fighter. Born in Brazil, Burns carved his early identity as a world-class Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist, earning multiple titles before transitioning to MMA. Over the years, fans have watched him evolve from a ground game wizard into a complete and dangerous all-around fighter. He's fought the best of the best, Kamaru Usman, Stephen Thompson, Bilal Muhammad, and he's never been one to turn down a challenge. That's just who Gilbert Burns is, a warrior at heart, someone who doesn't hide behind rankings or handpick opponents for easy wins. But coming into UFC Vegas 106, Burns isn't on a high. In fact, he's on the back foot, carrying the weight of 3 consecutive losses, each one against a dangerous and highly ranked opponent. Despite all that, Burns didn't retreat. He came back, and not with a tune-up fight or a safer matchup. No, he faced an undefeated monster in Michael Morales. So who is this Michael Morales? Chapter 2, Michael Morales. If you're new to UFC or haven't followed the welterweight division closely, Morales might not be a household name yet, but don't let that fool you. At just 25 years old, the Ecuadorian fighter boasts a perfect record of 17 wins and 0 losses. That's not a typo. 17 straight fights. No defeats, no controversies, just pure dominance. Morales represents the new wave of talent that's sweeping through the UFC. Young, fast, powerful, and confident, he's the type of fighter who could headline events for the next decade. And he was thrown into the spotlight in a 5-round main event against one of the most respected names in the division. It's a massive step up in competition, but it's also exactly the kind of opportunity that future champions need to seize. The fight itself is not just a matchup between 2 talented athletes, it's a passing of the torch moment, or at least the potential for one. Morales has everything to gain. A win over Burns would rocket him into title contention and silence any remaining doubters. Burns, on the other hand, has everything to lose. A 4th straight defeat could close the door on his dreams of ever becoming champion. But that's exactly what makes Gilbert Burns different from many others. Chapter 3, The Torch and the Test. When the UFC offered him this fight, Burns didn't hesitate. He didn't ask for a bigger name. He didn't ask for a lower risk opponent. He accepted. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Speaking in Spanish to Hablamos MMA, Burns said something that really captured his spirit. Michael Morales won this spot. He deserves this kind of opportunity. Most fighters in his position would lobby to fight someone higher ranked, someone who, if defeated, could bring them closer to the title. Burns, he's looking backward to lift someone else forward. I was like Michael Morales years ago, Burns said. I was making noise and making my way to the top, and Damian Maia and Gunnar Nelson gave me the opportunity. I feel like I have to do the same. It's a rare kind of self-awareness in MMA, and it speaks volumes about the kind of fighter and man Burns is. He's not just fighting for himself. He's fighting because he believes in the merit of the sport. You win, you move up, You lose, you regroup. Burns knew the danger, but saw a challenge and maybe the perfect setup for his comeback story. But nobody could have predicted how quickly that breath would be knocked out of them. What happened next deserves a closer look. Chapter 4, a storm hits the cage. The cage door shut, the lights dimmed, and within minutes, a welterweight torch was passed in brutal fashion. On May 17th night in Las Vegas, Michael Morales didn't just show up. He arrived. From the first bell, the 25-year-old looked composed, focused, and ready. He had no signs of nerves, despite it being his first UFC main event. No hesitation, despite the legend standing across from him. Instead, Morales delivered what can only be described as a clinic in calculated violence. Burns started strong, trying to assert pressure, but Morales found his rhythm early. He tagged Burns with an overhand right, shaking him slightly. Seconds later, an uppercut landed flush, and that's when things spiraled. Burns visibly rocked, went for a takedown, a desperate move from a seasoned grappler trying to slow the pace, and for a moment it worked. He got Morales down, but Morales didn't panic. He calmly stood back up and returned to his feet like it was just another sparring session. Then came the finish. With Burns backed up against the fence, Morales unleashed a furious flurry of precision strikes that found their mark again and again. The uppercut returned, snapping Burns' head back. The referee had seen enough. At 3 minutes and 39 seconds of the first round, it was over. Michael Morales had done it. A first-round TKO over a former title challenger. A knockout so clean, so quick, that fans watching at home and inside the Apex could hardly believe it. Burns, always gracious, took the loss with class, but it marked his 4th defeat in a row. Morales, meanwhile, improved to 18 wins and 0 losses and 6 wins and 0 losses in the UFC, with 4 of those wins by knockout. Chapter 5, Post-Fight Royal Attitude, or after the fight, Morales spoke through an interpreter, his voice humble but proud. "Every fight is tough, but I was very nervous back there in the locker room," he admitted. "They told me, trust yourself, trust your potential. My mother and grandmother told me to put the heavy hands on him and the rest will be easy." He also said, when asked about his next call-out, "I knew the whole welterweight division was going to come at me like sharks. Everybody tried to take my head off, but I'm always ready. As long as I'm healthy and ready, I'll be ready for whoever comes next." That's a great winner's spirit, but do you know what real sportsmanship looks like? Despite being knocked out in the first round, a moment that could shake any fighter's confidence, Burns didn't retreat into silence or bitterness. Instead, he stood tall, issued a message of gratitude, and praised his opponent. "Thankful for this journey, I'm still super blessed," he wrote, acknowledging the loss but embracing it as part of the larger experience. Rather than offering excuses or showing frustration, Burns congratulated Morales, wishing him and his team continued success. No sad stories," he emphasized, showing the kind of emotional strength only true champions possess. This is the essence of sportsmanship. It's not just about winning, it's about how you handle defeat. Burns reminded the world why he's admired, not just for his skills, but for his attitude. "All honors, praise, and glory are given to God in a win or defeat," he wrote. "That's real greatness." But once again, the cold math of MMA doesn't lie. Chapter 6, New Era. Morales beat Magny quicker than Burns ever did, and now he's done what few imagined made a veteran like Gilbert Burns look unprepared. This wasn't a lucky punch. This was calculated, clinical destruction. With names like Jack Della Maddalena, Shavkat Rakhmonov, and Sean Brady now being tossed around Morales' name, the new generation is rising. Burns, once the litmus test, is being respectfully ushered to the side. But this fight wasn't ugly. There were no cheap shots, no dirty drama. Instead, it exposed how shallow most UFC trash talk really is. Morales fought with power. Burns responded with grace. Two warriors, one clear message. Real sportsmanship doesn't scream, it echoes. So what did we learn? That a new king might be coming, that even in defeat, the class is undefeated, and that the future of the UFC is in good hands and heavy ones. And remember, in a sport built on blood and sweat, respect still steals the show.